That one debate is over whether the TUC should examine the practicalities of organising a general strike in protest at coalition austerity cuts. Outside the conference hall, we got the views of some of the delegates.
We'll be supporting the call for a general strike. I think you can see what's going on with the massive austerity tax at the moment.
It's about time that the people of this country fought back for their rights, for saying no.
Greece has had over 12 general strikes now, you know. We might not be going at their pace of travel, but we're certainly going in the same direction.
Holding successful meetings in the right sort of speeches and words and slogans, but we need to go beyond it and have some action.
The only way we're going to send a clear, loud message to this government is if we all stand together and we all stand united, and the best way we can achieve that is for a general strike. It means we're all out and we're all out together.
We need more members. We need to get as many people as possible into the trade union movement to ensure that a general strike is actually a general strike.
That range of views was reflected in a lengthy debate on the Tuesday, and although the big delegations such as Unison and Unite all decided to support the motion, others argued it was dangerous gesture politics. However, the RMT General Secretary Bob Crow told us delegates were responding to a clear mandate from their workplaces and branches.
We're marching up and down the place, which is great, and I really mean that. Fantastic marches, it's raising the conscience of people, but the fact of the matter is that's not getting our message across to the government. They ain't taking notice of us. And if they're not taking their notice of us by marching, then the only way they can take notice of us is actually stop work and put economic pressure on the government to tell them to do something.
So as the TUC General Council now goes off to look at the practicalities of this, one question in many minds is it legal? Well, one barrister, in fact the go-to lawyer for dozens of trade unions, John Hendy QC, believes it could be. He and the employment law specialist Professor Keith Ewing have just co-written a report on it.
There's no doubt at all that calling a general strike against government policy would be unlawful under current UK legislation. It's not in furtherance of or contemplation or furtherance of a trade dispute. The other side of that coin is that ballots and notices and all the rigmarole that unions have to go through to legitimate trade disputes would not be required. The point that we developed, Professor Ewing and I, in our booklet is that under European Convention law, which should be applicable in the United Kingdom because of the Human Rights Act, the European Court of Human Rights has upheld the right to strike in relation to days of action called against government policy, where the government policy is said by the union movement to affect the legitimate interests of workers. And what we explore in the book is whether and how the British courts could apply those rules. We think that the British courts ought to apply those principles. We think indeed that their courts are obliged to, but obviously there's a clear conflict between European Convention law and UK legislation, and these are the sorts of legal issues that the TUC, if it wishes to carry out this consideration, will have to go into.
You conclude in the book that because the law is a bit of a lottery and the courts are a bit of a lottery, you say it would be foolish for the union movement not to give it a go. I mean, is that how you think of it now?
I don't think we quite say that. I mean, what we say is that if the union movement wish to go down that path, they've certainly got strong arguments to put, and even if they lost in the English courts, they would have a very strong case in the European Convention on Human Rights. But there are a number of practicalities attached to that. For example, if you're going to call a day of action in a month's time or even 6 months' time, and an injunction is granted and you challenge that and you go through the English legal system, you're not going to get an answer from the European Court of Human Rights before the 6 months is up. So all these things would have to be thought about.
Now, when I was trying to track down John Hendy in Brighton, I went to the conference stand of the Institute of Employment Rights, which he chairs, and I met some of the staff, including the Institute's IT specialist, Sarah Glenister. She's just drawn up a touchscreen timeline which catalogues what they describe as the coalition's ideological attack on the rights of workers and trade unions. You can click through here to log on to the timeline. In the meantime, Sarah explains how it works.
It's basically a timeline of the last 2.5 years of the coalition, the many things that they've done and tried to do and done U-turns on that have threatened workers' rights and trade unions. So on there what you've got is about 60 stories at the moment. They're all headlines with summaries underneath them. And from there you can click through onto the full news articles or full blogs and critiques that explain the whole story.
Is there particularly an employment rights angle on this, or is it just general stuff?
There is particularly employment rights and trade union rights. So we've split it up into about 10 categories, which are all colour-coded. They include things like health and safety, equality, workplace disputes, 2P, things like that. So it is very much employment rights and trade union rights.
For the geeks who might be listening to this, tell us a little bit about the technicalities of how you put that together.
We managed to find some free software on the internet that allowed us to put it all together. So most of it really was a huge amount of research.
So it's just like research for any other project like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been mostly just researching the history. That's been the biggest part of the work, really.
And where did the idea come from originally to have something interactive like this?
Well, we did have a chronology of labour law from 1979 to 2008 on our website, and that's been immensely popular, and it's always been within the top 10 pages visited on our site, especially with trade union education, people who use it to show their students the history of trade unions. So we decided we'd like to update that and do something specifically for the coalition that goes into a little bit more detail and allows people to interact with things as well.
Okay, so where can people find this?
This is on our website, which is ier.org.uk, and the Coalition Timeline will be one of the main links in the menu, and you can just click in through that and you can just use it straight away, completely free.